The calendar year of 2025 for the Canucks started off with a bang. This guy basically didn't like this guy, so the Canucks traded JT Miller to the Rangers for essentially Hedel, Mancini, and a first because Dorrington and Brandstrom are nobodies basically. And JT Miller was obviously the biggest part of this deal and was a great player for Vancouver, but they got a young prospect in Mancini, and they also got a really good player in Philip Hedel, but neither of these players have played a ton for the Canucks, so it's hard to tell how this is going to shape out. That first from the JT Miller trade was flipped to the Penguins for Marcus Pettersson and Drew O'Connor, and we also gave up Fernstrom, who's an okay prospect, and Heinen and Desharnais are no longer even with the Penguins. Drew O'Connor is a solid bottom six winger with a lot of size and speed, and also can play penalty kill minutes, which is helpful, and Marcus Pettersson is a solid top four two-way defenseman that the Canucks desperately need. The Canucks were 6-7-2 in the month of January. Next up is the month of February, where the Canucks were 4-3-1. The Four Nations Face-Off was the biggest event in February, and the Canucks actually had two players in it, Elias Pettersson representing Sweden, and they also had Kevin Lankinen representing Finland, and Quinn Hughes would have represented USA but was hurt. Oh yeah, and Mark Friedman was traded for future considerations. We now move on to the month of March, where the Canucks finished with a 7-6-2 record. Does everyone remember this guy, Philip Hedel? Well, he got hurt and missed the remainder of the 2024-25 season. The Canucks also traded Susie in March. He had some good moments for the Canucks, and he also had some bad moments, but for me, I'll always remember him for cross-checking McDavid in the face in the playoffs. Moving on to the final month of the 2024-25 regular season, where the Canucks finished 4-3-1. It probably also goes without saying, but the Canucks missed the playoffs. April was kind of just filled with bad news. In the end of the season press conference, Jim Rutherford announced Quinn wanted to play with his brothers in New Jersey, and in a season full of Pettersson-Miller drama, we did not need more drama to surround the Canucks. Oh yeah, and Rick Tocchet just left. He didn't get fired, he just left. And then Adam Foote replaced Tocchet in the month of May. The Vancouver Canucks didn't play any hockey in the month of May, but that doesn't mean any Canucks weren't playing hockey. Two Canucks represented USA in the World Championship Tournament and actually ended up winning the gold medal. Those two players were Connor Garland and Drew O'Connor. Filip Hronek also represented Czechia, and Marcus Pettersson represented Sweden. The highlight of June was obviously the 2025 NHL entry draft, where the Canucks selected Braden Coots with the 15th overall pick, who is one of the Canucks' best prospects in their system, but before the draft even happened, the Abbotsford Canucks won the Calder Cup, and players like Linus Karlsson made a name for himself to join the NHL, and fellow line-mate Max Sasson also made a case for himself. The Canucks also traded for Evander Kane. Evander Kane has gotten a lot of slack this year, but I think he's performed about as expected and has more points than both Brock Besser and Jake DeBrusk. Two trades were made in July, first being Archer Silovs to the Penguins. Silovs was not waiver eligible and was behind Lankinen and Demko. The second trade was Dakota Joshua to the Maple Leafs, who needed a change of scenery after struggling to return after having testicle cancer. The Canucks did manage to lock down some key players, first being Demko for $8.5 million for 3 years. The second being Connor Garland for $6 million for 6 years, and the last being Brock Besser for $7.25 million for 7 years. And in free agency, they also signed P.O. Joseph as a depth defenseman. And nothing really happened in August. So let's jump to September. September showcases the first time the Canucks have played since April, which is 4 months. And the main story of September is Braden Coots. The Canucks had a prospect showcase, training camp, and preseason hockey, and Braden Coots impressed in all three. Also, the GOAT, Niels Hoglander, got hurt in preseason and needed surgery. Which brings us to the start of the regular season, which is October, where the Canucks finished with a record of 6-6. Lukas Reichel was then traded to the Blackhawks, and you might be confused why Lukas Reichel was traded to Vancouver in October. The Canucks were riddled with injuries, one of which being Philip Hedel with yet another concussion. We already mentioned Niels Hoglander, but we also lost players like Derek Forbert, Teddy Bluger, Jonathan Lekermacki, Victor Mancini, Quinn Hughes, and even Connor Garland. This leads us to November, where the Canucks finished with a record of 4-7-3. The Canucks face even more injury drama, with Demko getting hurt once again, and Kevin Lankinen and Brock Besser both going on personal leave, which led to the Canucks signing David Kampf, who couldn't even crack Toronto's roster. But all that aside, Kampf has actually impressed me because A, he's winning faceoffs, and he brought our penalty kill from last in the league to fourth last, which is technically improvement. Remember when we talked about Rutherford saying Quinn Hughes wanted to play with his brothers? Well, he was traded, but to the Wild. And Quinn being traded starts the Canucks hybrid retool, whatever that is. Ogren's been really solid, who we got in the deal. Marco Rossi is hopefully the second line center the Canucks are looking for, and Z Boom is, he's the future of the Canucks defense. He's probably our best prospect. The Canucks finished with a record of 6-7 in December, and they also sit second to last in the NHL. They do have 3 prospects in the World Junior, one being Basile Sansonens for Switzerland. They also have Braden Coots representing Canada, and last they also have Bjork, who's played 1 game for Sweden. The Canucks finished the calendar year of 2025 with a record of 37, 39, and 9. And your point leaders for the calendar year of 2025 are Quinn Hughes, PD, Phil Hronik, Connor Garland, and Kiefer Sherwood. And I gotta say, I'm surprised Phil Hronik ended 3rd in points per game, especially as a defenseman. That was really incredible to see. And your goal leaders for 2025 are Sherwood, DeBrusk, Besser, Garland, and Petey. And Sherwood he just paved the path this year because he has 16 goals this season. That's way more than anyone. And I gotta say, I'm happy 2025 is over for the Canucks because it was a tough year filled with a lot of drama, filled with a lot of losing, and I'm excited to just look forward for the future. Hopefully we actually try to rebuild and don't give up on it, and let's see what happens in 2026.